Starting with your right arm like this is going to make bad shots impossible because it's going to encourage great center face contact, great rotation through the golf ball. It's going to encourage great arm connection and body, and it's also going to shallow your shaft. And it is the only legal way in golf to actually cheat. So let's get into the 4 points here individually on why tucking your shirt, that is by your right armpit, underneath your right arm, so beneficial. So just doing this, number one, it's going to have that better face contact. Now, when we're swinging with this underneath our right arm, that shirt tucked underneath, it keeps that right arm nicely tight to our side. So what I see with players who have that right arm disconnect with this massive gap, you'll see them have that club diverge out in front of them. So that's where you'll start to see shank shots. You could easily start to see over the top golf swings, that right arm getting out in front, and that's really going to hurt your ability to be able to hit the center of the club face. So of course, we don't want to be doing a fault that makes us shank the golf ball and swing over the top. And that becomes really difficult, especially with that shanking the golf ball to do when that right arm and that bit of shirt there is tucked underneath. Keeps that right arm tight to your side, and if you're keeping that shirt underneath your arm the entire time, see how that keeps that club traveling on the arc better, keeps that sweet spot moving through the golf ball nicely, and makes it hit more out the middle of the club face. So the second one here, that's rotation. So when we have that shirt tucked underneath the right arm, it's going to give you a very distinct rotational feel. And we constantly see it with players as soon as they do this, that better rotation through the shot. It's one of the main reasons why we see top tour players have this move. Justin Rose used to be one of them, who before every shot would tuck this underneath his right armpit. Now, when it's tucked underneath that armpit, like we said, it keeps that right arm a little bit connected, a little bit closer to your side. And because it's in that nice position there, it then enables the body to be able to turn better. A lot of you are going to feel a very brisk chest rotation going through the golf ball. Really does help with that upper body move through the golf ball, but we know that will be rotating the rest of the body also. So why rotation is so beneficial is because it helps stabilize this, the club face. So when we are rotating, we're keeping that club face nice and square to the arc, albeit if the club face is already square to the arc, but we maintain that club face angle. So if we're not having this club face volatile and having a lot of rate of closure, like a lot of guys trying to fire the right arm, disconnect it from the side, and having a lot of hand movement, you're generally going to be more consistent in your dispersion than that type of golfer. Because when we're rotating nicely through, that club face just stays nice and stable, it stays square for a lot longer, and then you're going to have a better dispersion left or right. So it's one of the reasons why top players can hit the ball so straight so often and not that far offline. It's because their rotation is nice and constant through the golf ball. Tuck the right arm, that shirt under there, and then you're going to have a similar level of rotation. Number three, arm and body connection. Of course, if you've got this tucked underneath your arm, we've been talking about it in the last 2 points, it's going to keep this right arm more connected to the body. So then that immediately is going to help you, one, with all the points we've just talked about before that you can do when arm and body are better connected. But three, it's going to really help you with how the arms are traveling in relationship to how the body's pivoting. What I'll see quite often with players who have this right arm separate, they'll be shaft parallel to the downswing and their hands are miles away from their body, really outside where they're moving here. So from there, they have to quickly fire the hands through the shot to be able to hit a good golf shot. Could struggle with fatting the golf ball, could struggle with flipping at it, high left shots, but that's a huge issue there. But having that right arm more connected immediately makes those hands more in front of the body, and then you can just continue, just like with the second point, to turn through the golf ball. Arm and body connection is so beneficial to strike and low point control, hitting ball than turf. I've seen players with brilliant shifting, brilliant weight shift and downswing, which controls low point, but the right arm massively disconnected and they still fat the golf ball. So right arm being connected, it's going to make you strike more ball than turf out in the golf course, which is of course what we need to be able to hit the ball to our target. So number four, shallowing the shaft. So keeping that tucked underneath your arm is going to encourage that right arm to then move in front, because that's the only way you'll be able to keep this tucked underneath. And what's going to happen to the shaft there? It's going to start to want to pitch more behind. It's going to start to want to shallow. So shallowing the shaft, what does that help with? Rotation. So it helps you to be able to turn through that golf ball, which again, what's that doing? That's keeping the club face nice and stable, and then that's going to help you then deliver these really nice shots. I see players tons of time, if their right arm starts to move away from them, which the shirt will start to untuck, they'll get steep. From there, they can't turn, so they will be really inconsistent through the golf ball, and then they'll have this early extension stand-up move to reorganize the shaft. So there's tons and tons of stuff. Just doing this can really help with. So tuck it underneath your right arm, you're gonna start to have a little bit better of a shallowing movement. Just tons of things are gonna be so much more at your disposal for hitting better shots. The best way to practice this on the driving range is doing it with a glove. So doing this, we're going to talk about, we can absolutely do it out on the golf course, but having this underneath your arm for when you're practicing will be even a better way to give yourself the feeling, because there's a little bit, of course, more mass behind a glove. You're going to be able to feel it a little bit more. And we just want to keep it in underneath our right arm for the entirety of that swing, backswing and downswing, even through to the finish. Keep it tucked underneath there, and we're going to get all those nice things we just talked about into our swing. If we immediately start to get that right arm separating, it's going to start to fall straight away. So absolutely brilliant. You'll see tons of tour players do this all the time. But what do the tour players also do? They'll be tucking that shirt underneath the arms when they're going and playing, because you can do this. We see players like Justin Rose back in the day would do both arms, tuck that in, and then play around a golf. I used to do it when I was playing mini tour golf. I used to tuck these underneath my arms, and it helped me with a better connected feel. But absolutely, it's allowed in the rules. You won't be able to do it with the glove underneath, but you can do it with the shirt. Technically, just like you see with all those YouTube titles out at the moment, it is like you're cheating. It actually is, because if it was with a glove, it is, but for some reason the shirt isn't. So you can do it in the rules, but the good thing is you can get repetitions or working on something when you're out on the golf course too. What else can you do that's going to give you repetitions out on the golf course also? So tuck this underneath that right arm. It's going to be super beneficial, and you're going to be struggling and find it almost impossible to hit bad shots when you get the hang of it. So if you enjoyed this video, click that like button if you want more golf instruction, just like this. Hit the subscribe button, hit that bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video.